All right, welcome. This is anatomy lesson 6.06 on thoracic vertebra. So we're going to look at two different views of thoracic vertebra, and then we're going to talk about how lumbar are a little bit different. So on this view, let's label what we know is true for all vertebrae. So this is going to be posterior, and this is going to be anterior, and this is a superior view. It's anterior. So that means that this is going to be the spinous process. So let's label the things we said that all vertebrae have. Spinous process. And you'll notice it's not forked. It's a nice straight process that comes directly out from the vertebra. We have our vertebral foramen. Here we have a body. So this is the body of the vertebra, and this is a typical body. So we've got a nice large area of bone, and this is going to be useful for supporting more weight. I have transverse processes. So I've got a transverse process here. I've got a transverse, whoops, TR, where'd that come from? I've got a transverse process there. This is my superior articulating facet, superior articulating facet. Now we have, and it was difficult to label on the cervical vertebra. So again, these are the things that all vertebrae have, although here we have a more typical body. We have the vertebral foramen it looks a lot more common to what we know. And what we're going to see is that we can look at this area here and here, and it's the same over here. So if this is to the back, if they have to come in and operate on your spinal cord, they'll cut the vertebra here. This is called a lamina. So these two areas here and here are called the lamina. And so if they have to operate on your spinal cord, they'll probably do what's called a laminectomy, and they'll come in and they'll cut this and they'll remove that. Conversely, we have the area down here on either side. This is called the pedicle, P-E-D-I-C-L-E. So it wouldn't make sense to try to operate if they wanted to get to your pedicle. They'd have to come in through your abdomen and come back and somehow get around the body, which would be pretty awkward. So the things that all vertebrae have, we have our superior articulating facet, spinous process, vertebral foramen, transverse process. So from this view, we can see one of the unique features of thoracic vertebra. So one of the jobs of the thoracic vertebra is to articulate with the ribs. So if we're going to articulate, we have to have a space to articulate, and that's what we see here and here. So we have one facet on the transverse process, and we have one in the body. These are costal facets. If you remember, ribs are costal. And what happens is the rib comes in, so the back of it is here, it winds up and it comes around and it comes out and it comes back around the front. And if I can draw this in here, it's on screen. So it's going to come up front and wrap around to this, and this would attach to the sternum. And I obviously don't have enough room, but the ribs actually have 3 points of articulation, the true ribs, the sternum, and then they come around and they touch on this costal facet and this costal facet. 3 points is always going to be more stable than 2. And so we have these 3, and we'll have the same thing then on this side. We have a costal facet here, CF, and costal facet here. So what's going to look different on a lumbar vertebra? On a lumbar vertebra, these are going to be a little bit shorter, and this is going to be a little bit fatter. Why? Well, we're not articulating with ribs, and we're supporting more weight, so we need that body to be a little bit bigger. All right, let's look at the side view. And here we go. So I have a costal facet here, CF. I have the body here. I have the spinous process here. Now, we have, this is the pedicle. The portion that we can see here that we can't see on the other view is I have my superior articulating facet here. Superior articulating facet. And I have my inferior articulating facet. But what we can see now from this view that they lie above the vertebra and it lies below the vertebra. So we call this the process that it lies on, the superior articulating process. So the facet now lies on a process that extends it above the vertebra. So we have the superior articulating process. And down here, I'm going to have the inferior articulating, I'm going to abbreviate, process. So we can see that on thoracic vertebra, our facets that are going to articulate with the vertebra above and below will lie on top of this process. Oh, I missed a costal facet over there. So there's the costal facet on the body. There's the costal facet on the transverse process. So we should probably label that transverse process. So what are our takeaways for thoracic vertebra? Our processes are larger. We have facets on places we didn't have them before. Our body is larger. We're supporting more weight. Also, having these facets kind of go above and beyond help the column lock together, and we need that. I think we have enough time. Let's go ahead and pick up the sacrum. Nah, I'll save it for the next video. We'll do the sacrum, coccyx, and ribs on the last video, and we'll call this the end. And the only thing we're going to say about lumbar is larger body, smaller processes. All right, that's all for now.